Jacob made fun of us because as we were covering the Weinburg match last round, we, at a certain point, just kind of started talking about the field, about the metagame, about what's winning today, because that was something we wanted to share with you, and he claimed it was because Counterbalance is simply so boring. So hopefully we won't have Michael Jacob falling asleep when he plays against it.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much that the deck itself is boring. His opponent was just drawing blanks over and over and over
Yeah,
again.
I think so.
So
in the event
it wasn't a very exciting game at the time.
Yeah, and actually I think that the way that this deck is built, the one that Michael Jacob is playing, Counterbalance was actually one of the big decks that Brian Cole was gunning for.
You have an out.
I have it
So
out.
that was actually a part of his goal.
Yes.
And what you'll see in the side or in the main deck of this list, 4 Vindicate, 1 Pernicious Deed, and 1 Maelstrom Pulse, all of which are at that magic free spot that can break up the combo of Counterbalance and the Sensei's Divining Touch.
People know who I am.
He
If they
also has
don't,
Knight
then
of
I
the
don't
Reliquary
care.
at the same casting cost.
I'm sorry.
Great threat to
You don't know
fight.
me? I don't need to know
Yeah.
you.
He has 4 handles.
Are they really repairing?
Give some card advantage.
And we have Michael Jacob has written his Moto Nick Darkest Mage on his feature match sheet that we have displayed for the people that are spectating live to see.
Yes.
Yeah, Rashad says he has seen darker mages.
I think he may actually be the least dark mage.
Yes,
Mage.
palest mage, says Rashad.
See, the thing is that we're not
Mage,
Dirtle, so you don't have to worry too much
sans
about it.
pigmentation.
What do you think, Dirtle?
So one of the questions I kind of have when I think
Do you know how
about
the word hello means
this
nothing?
match
You look it up in the dictionary,
is
it's like nothing. It has no definition.
the changes to the board that I see with Michael Jacob. There's a lot of scribble marks here.
It's like fapping about.
He's got an access to 3 Pernicious Deed after board, which is really good against Counterbalance. And he's got access to 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Hymn to Turok, and afterboard Duress. And I actually think that the Gerard's Verdict he was making fun of is good. But one thing I don't see in his sideboard that was definitely present when Brad Nelson was playing this deck to a very near victory, a second place finish in Columbus, is he only has 1 Croson Grip. And that can be a big deal when you're trying to break up Counterbalance.
In the same way, though, when I spoke to Brad about the deck, he said that he very rarely broke up the combo at all, that he just kept winning through it. And he felt like he was the luckiest person in the world. He was just breaking through it, and he said the deck was awesome.
You do? I
He
didn't
described
See, I didn't see you
amazing
roll.
turns.
We have it on camera.
Bullshit.
Where he caught opponents off guard. People didn't realize the interaction of Mazavith, and Knight of the Reliquary was as strong as it actually was.
I mean, I really like the ability of pausing on the Knight of the Reliquary for 1 turn to make it suddenly be, able to grow by 1, or by 2, I should say, every turn. If you just pause 1 turn to get that Mazavith, that means the next turn you can attack, put damage, let it resolve, before combat ends, untap the Knight, and then get a sack land, sack it, and have +2 for the next turn.
It was there.
Dude,
I think
They
it
can,
was
too late.
get
The
very
dice
big
are over
very
here. We
fast.
can't go back.
I think it was
Especially when you're
I rolled a 5.
using
You rolled a
the
total
Mazavith.
of 5, and there was 1 dice here with a 5 and 1 with a 3.
Then that means you had 8. 8 is greater than
Excuse me. I didn't see it happen. My hand might have brushed it.
I definitely saw him roll the 8. I just wasn't sure.
Like, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? All right, yeah. All right, how's it going? Oh, a guy rolled an 8, by the way. You didn't see me? Too bad. Your loss. REDDIT. Reddit.
So
Best site on the
we have a.
Ben Weinberg,
We have a.
happy to be playing his deck there.
I'm not. It's just an interesting, happy.
Man,
I'm like, top counterbalance 4 lands. Can I keep this?
I guess
Oh,
I'm
the agony.
willing to bet that, with even the little changes, that unless Michael Jacob so hates the deck and so hates the format that he's unwilling to try to find paths to victory, I bet you that he's going to be favored in this matchup by at least a small margin.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Whoa, wait a
this
second.
deck looks great for this matchup.
Here it comes, a ponder.
Can they even see your hand? Do I need to do something so they can see your hand? You kept it on top?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
If you just like lay it down flat, they'll see it.
Really?
Well, it's all 8.
So? Alright, so that's my hand. Alright.
Oh, right, it's a monkey.
Yep.
Okay, and we get the beginning of an opening. Mox Diamond. Not having a land down there to begin with.
Oh, Mike,
Or did-
next type of play is probably going to Confidant.
Yep.
Powering into a Tarmogoyf doesn't seem like the greatest thing ever.
There it is, though.
Yeah.
Starts out as a 2-3. It'll get bigger than that, though. It's a 3-4 the next time one tries to hit the table.
It's true. I mean, Mike now, though, has access to...
Top.
Go ahead.
he basically stole the play.
Yeah.
That's essentially what happened.
There's a Sensei's Divining top.
Ben loses one, goes to Giants.
And right here is the turn that often... Going that 2-drop, 3-drop is one of the things that makes junk good. Being able to do that a turn earlier. Thoughtseize, perhaps? There it is.
And then I feel like...
Oof,
I feel
look
like
at
there
that.
has to be a Confidant.
Double Force of Will and Brainstorm.
Darkest Mage loses 2, goes to Aces.
You're gonna enjoy that so
You
much.
take the
Storm?
You take the Brainstorm here? I think you do.
I think you do also.
Those Force of Wills are going to be another opportunity for Michael Jacob to 2-for-1 his opponent.
Yeah.
And
pick up more cards.
he's got enough redundancy with a lot of these cards here. It's okay if there are 2 Force of Wills. We're not going to get to the point where he cares that one singular card is going to go away.
Might be his motive.
I guess I'll take Brainstorm.
And then there it goes. There goes Brainstorm.
And
Now let's say he drops a powerful 2-drop. He's happy to see it get Force of Willed away. I mean, if it's clearing out his opponent's hand, that's fine.
he's probably... I don't know. Maybe he just baited the Force with the Goyf, and he actually has the Confidant in hand. I'm just thinking about how Mike plays.
Yeah, we're
I
not.
feel like he...
We're not.
Look at that Vindicate hanging out. That's exciting. Him to Torok, maybe?
Vindicate is just so good.
Oh, Dark Confidant. That'll draw the Force of Will.
I'm going to top in response.
Oh, check to see if I got a blue spell. I think I see one.
Just couldn't make my job easy.
Am I wrong? Is that a blue spell in the very front?
I think it's actually a Savannah, a Trop, and a Div Top.
Oh, okay. Force the Force.
Go ahead.
Now, if you look at that, with 2 Force of Wills gone, that's pretty rough.
3 Forces gone now.
No, well, 2 being cast, I should say.
Yeah.
That means that he's gone up on cards twice. Now, he
Sure.
went down on cards once for that Mox, but I don't think he's sad for that acceleration. That's going to be a permanent resource in play, whereas Ben doesn't have any permanent resources to come back from with that. He has the opportunity here to... Oh, there we go, his own top.
Top is just so good. I just always want to play Top.
Yeah, he's looking to see for perhaps a Wasteland.
Top finisher?
Yep.
And we got the tops rolling on both sides.
Intro? Top.
Top away.
And a top again.
Also, one of them's played 2 formats.
Go.
So I get to see what Mike's just gonna draw.
That's right.
Ooh, is that a him?
It looks like the wolf,
The
Him.
Wolf Fallen Empire's him?
the
It's like once a month.
moon wolf him.
That's my favorite him.
It's one of my favorites. Actually, I think I like the Ring Around the Rosies.
It
Him
reminds
a
me too
little
much
bit.
of Doomsday. I was confused. The Wolf one's awesome.
I would get that on a
We're
T-shirt.
having a lot of fun watching this match.
Oh, for sure. Like a local flea market. I recently bought a T-shirt that has like translucent, like Native Americans, and like a herd of buffalo running, and then lightning in the background, horses running in the sky. There's a wolf howling my armpit, you know.
Sinkhole.
Those are the types of shirts that, you know, if you're interested in finding a soulmate,
Very well done.
I strongly recommend finding a shirt with as many different ghosts and wild animals on it as you possibly can, because that attracts people.
It was ostracized, actually, I think.
Encroach.
Oh, that's it. Go ahead. That's what I'm thinking of.
Somebody said that shirt sounds like it could impregnate somebody. So one card I'm surprised that we didn't see as much of today is Vampire Hexmage, along with Dark Depths. Somebody mentioned that here. I really like that addition to the lands deck. I believe that was an innovation made by Chris Woltrick. And it seemed very impressive to me since the first time I saw it.
You keep your left roll on your left.
Yeah, it's my left.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I have 17.
Now, Chris, for a lot of people, I think really made his first splash in the Star City Games series as well.
Yeah, I took the fourth
He did very well, I think, 2 years
So I have
ago
18,
before we had the larger open series at large, and just, I think, put in some successes with 5-color control, amongst other things.
Get the one you just gave.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Chris is such a good player, but
Stop
Chris,
being a Bertle.
you know, he's not the type of guy who's doing like a lot of work on the game. He works. He's you know, he's StarCrafting all the time, getting better at that. But he's just such a talented player.
Boy,
Ben is at 18, Darkest Mage is at 16.
go. Things are looking grim for our hero.
Neither of us seem to be having the most exciting draw, though. Top.
For here, I'm looking out into the field and I can see familiar faces like Jerry Thompson battling it out. People like Brian, the
I wouldn't
Ross
know.
boss. For here, playing a few more matches.
Mr. Dirtle himself. Go.
So, right now, MJ finally has a threat in play. He's been waiting to find something that was some kind of action for a little while now.
I think. I'm going to top first, though.
It's fairly likely that in all of this time, Ben Weinberg has some kind of answer to it, though. And there it is.
21.
Go ahead.
Top.
Darkest Mage gains 5. Goes to 21.
And there's a sack land in there as well as a horizon canopy.
It's kind of an interesting game. I mean, when games go this long, it almost always favors the blue deck, but Mike has, you know, Mike's hurt Ben to such a degree. Ben is really just working off the top of his deck with a top. And Mike's at least gotten to shuffle and see some extra cards, you know? Alright, here comes Goyf.
Yet another threat coming down. Top,
away.
looking for some kind of response.
Life am I going to gain off this guy?
It's pretty rough for Ben here. And, like, using those 2 forces so early, just,
Yeah,
you know, it's basically
4
like
life off
mulling
this one.
5.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Go.
And the Tarmogoyf resolves. Another look to see if there's some answer to
Always
it.
wants to Jace bounce. That's what I expected.
I wish.
Yeah.
I don't have these good cards you think I do.
And he has a counterbalance. And counterbalance top.
I mean,
It's very possible
you
that
have
a
voice,
3-drop
so-
might be on top,
Go
just
ahead.
as a precaution that Weinberg would have set up
Don't know. Haven't
against
yet.
the problem that a
I have 3
Vindicate or a
Favorite
Maelstrom
creature, so,
Pulse
yeah.
would represent. Michael Jacob checks to see if the 3-drop is there.
Yeah. He says, "Huh? Do you have a 3-shot?"
And Ben's like, no. No, I really don't.
I won there.
13?
That's 5, so you're at 13.
That's one of the reasons why this deck is so good in this matchup. You have so many cards that just like dodge the counterbalance.
Yeah, and they can have a whole bunch of things assembled, and then you can even lay a deed.
Yeah.
You know?
Face bounce now.
Everybody who's ever played the second counterbalance in order to protect themselves against Corrosing Grip would be very upset to do that in this matchup.
Deed.
You're fighting against things like Maelstrom
Well,
Bolt.
am I gonna
man.
play a deed? No,
Deed.
Or you? That'll be...
Yeah, I really like
Take
this
one.
deck. I mean, I think that
You have one in
this,
your deck.
as an update to my junk list from a million years ago, is very, very strong. And he was really inspired to do this after playing Cedric Phillips' black-green deck at the Grand Prix, and I want to say it's Grand Prix Chicago, but I'm forgetting which one Grand Prix that Brian Cole was in the top 8 and then ended up getting disqualified because of Dark Confidant triggers.
That was Grand Prix Chicago.
Yeah, that was Chicago. Yeah.
That was very upsetting for me.
Yeah, it was a sad moment for a lot of us.
Yeah.
You guys like Force World 2 blue cards? Oh, no, this isn't going to work out, is it?
See,
one
Mike
point
says
left.
that he hates this game so much, but whenever you're watching him playing, he's always got a big smile on his face, and he's always laughing. He has like this defeatist sense of humor, so he clearly enjoys it.
Please come down to side events if you are interested.
Okay. I like it.
Gets me one deeper, right?
I mean, next turn.
Well, I can see one more deeper this turn.
I mean, sure, if you pay 1. Top again? Sure. Assuming.
Nothing of a note on top of his library.
Let me double check this.
Yeah, sure.
It's gonna resolve. But...
No, that's fine. Okay.
So
it's
Mike's
five
gonna
again.
get bashed a little bit.
Deep, right?
Yeah. Go.
Ben is at 8.
He's at
7.
He's at 7. Stop lying.
I might even draw here.
Jace, Brainstorm, Swords, I guess? I mean, if I want to take you to 1, what if I want to take you to 1?
We'll go on top. We're gonna choose the island because I don't really draw the island.
I agree.
And Ben is trying to dig for something.
He just needs an answer quick.
Yeah.
How big is the knight?
1, 2, 3. So he's a 5. He's a 5. I don't have.
So he's a 6/6.
I mean, Ben, I believe, has already used 2 Swords to Plowshares.
I haven't played a land.
This leaves his answers right now. Shackle,
Oh, you just played this, right?
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah, no,
is definitely large enough to take a Tarmogoyf. Probably not large enough to take that Knight of the Reliquary right now.
It's just too big.
Too big, yeah. Engineered Explosives. The final Swords to Plowshares are basically what he needs. A Jace can keep something off the table for a moment, and that might be powerful enough, but
It's alright.
It's the only card I could have had in my hand the entire
I know.
game and not played.
Just double check, man. Ben is 7.
Yeah. Top activation on the stack. Draw a card.
Alright, here he goes, flipping the top.
Go.
And he's got to go after his own. Unfortunately, I believe Mike has a
I think he's got a sword hanging
in his
out.
hand, yeah. I mean, that sword's going to make Ben survive another swing, though.
That's pretty irrelevant, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Ben 12.
You have no cards in, right?
5.
I didn't know this was on top.
Okay. Is that lethal?
If I sack a canopy.
Pop this Horizon Canopy.
Right. Ben doesn't want to bother the rest of the turn playing out.
Fair enough.
Okay, so what is Ben going to bring in?
Wasn't going to be good enough, though.
Let's take a look. I'm sure Brent brings in an extra path.
Right, he brings in a path.
Certainly win something.
Relic of Progenitus is actually not terrible.
Check see how much time's left on the
Terrible.
Yeah, a Relic of Progenitus
sure
can
he brings
turn.
it
I mean, he can cycle it, right? He can cycle it to turn Tarmogoyf and Knight of the Reliquary into small guys.
Maybe we should draw now.
It's true.
Oh,
If
really?
it
Is
didn't
that how it's
cycle,
going to be,
I don't
Mr.
think it would.
Weinberg?
Yeah, if it didn't cycle,
Boy,
I don't
I've
think it'd be
never
worth
run
it.
that one before. People's called me.
You have to win with your own targets, too.
This is true, but I mean, sometimes in this deck, I think that a lot of the times,
Yeah, MJ got
You're
me.
not
Like
gonna
a
Shady
2-power guy
character.
is good enough, right?
yeah, you're not going to also be the one that's usually starting the aggressive element of the game.
I've had
You're going to be
people
more on
ask
your
them.
heels a little bit,
I've
and if you
definitely
do
had
happen
people
to be on the aggressive side, well, you don't have to shrink anything.
No.
You can just
Not even
let that
close.
sit
So,
out
like,
there,
do
or
you
keep it in your
wanna
hand,
draw? No.
brainstorm it
There's
away.
You want to draw? Are you for real?
Hey, your opponent still wanted to draw into 9th after. Like, he was just drawing dead no matter what, you know? Remember that PDU top 8 you just won? You were just like, I want to draw, why'd you knock me out? You were 9th no matter what, dude.
Oh, that guy, he was so angry. He was so angry. And he beat me.
No, you beat him.
No, the Affinity guy?
Yeah.
No, I think he probably
mean,
beat 3. I might be wrong.
He could
No,
bring
no,
in
you
Meddling
definitely
Mage
beat him. Okay.
as a means
'Cause
to
if he won,
fight
he would've been in top 8.
Vindicate.
All right.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, he
like-
brought in Meddling Mage against
Not a
the
question
other
about
deck
that,
was
right?
similar to this,
Right,
and he named Knight of the Reliquary.
right.
So that deck was blue instead of black.
Now, of course, even if his opponent, Michael Jacob, can path to exile,
so I don't know
or
what
pardon me,
he's
can Swords to Plowshares, a Meddling Mage, it's just one less Swords that's going to be taking out a
Well, I
Tarmogoyf
think
on
we
the other
both don't
side.
know where to go.
The Super Pro win. You board everything in, you just like, shuffle around and then...
Now, traditionally,
The thing is, I
a
barely
mid-range
know what's in
aggro
my
deck
sideboard,
like this
so-
would be fairly poorly positioned against a control deck that's as, essentially
60 cards, you're good.
very, very deep in the control element of archetypes. But one of the things that really shift things around here is that because the control deck in this case is
Not a chance.
pushing so much of its emphasis onto the counterbalance
There was one
engine,
first system tournament where I had
the
31
Pernicious
cards, and I drew
Deed
31st card twice,
and
then
Vindicate and
Maelstrom Pulse.
Maelstrom
You're done
Pulse,
with that?
I'm
they
done.
all
The
end up being
experiment
very
was a
valuable
failure.
in making sure that you don't simply have something
we were talking about
overwhelming
that. We were talking about
happen to control you out. They are being controlled on the table, and a mid-range deck like this is prepared to fight on the table.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
I mean, my team definitely won a PC with, 61 cards. I cut down to 60, but
Yeah.
they were like, no. I'm like, fine. Edie, why do you have to have 2 Science Spires in our draft? That's why I didn't copy that one. And also me, and I think Adam Spears had a game where neither of us did anything to like turn 3 or 4. We won that one, but it was just like, we were both like triple fight.
Yeah.
This is round 6, I
lost,
believe.
the last PTs, the real TTs, top 8 man.
Is it round 7?
Yeah.
Really?
We both
It's round
did
7.
nothing the first 3 turns. But I was playing a deck that everything cost 1, 2, or 3.
Jacob
and I
was
couldn't
5-0 after we interviewed him.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Jacob was 5-0 after we interviewed
We were talking about WoW earlier how like every
And
matchup's 90-10.
Then we
Yes,
did the
every
last
And then, like,
Weinburg match,
like,
and now we are
I
doing
think the first
Michael
Worlds or
Jacob
Nationals
match.
or whatever, was like made the top 8 with like
Also
like,
Ben Weinberg
Like, that's like
match.
90-10 versus everything in the top 8, and like beat the first two, and the guy in the final was like,
You know,
so, what? He's like,
Using all of their
Yeah, no
sleeves,
way.
I'm sure it would be very possible to
But
make
apparently
a
he lost
sculpture
one of
of
the
Donatello,
quarters.
the Ninja
It
Turtle.
was like best of 5 or
I think
something.
they had everything necessary there.
like you'll take your 70-30s there all day long.
Yeah.
Just thought I could point that out.
And if you lose, you suck.
He had
They also have, I
He
feel like
had
they have
4
a mirror
regrowths
match
and
as
8
far as
time
arm hair
locks.
goes.
That doesn't seem
So-
fair.
Think fine.
Because the decks in the top 8 were all solo decks, and he had 2 mana instant.
Both these
tap
players
target
know each other
thing,
pretty
draw
well.
a card, doesn't untap
Joking.
next turn. So it's like better than Time Walk, and he had 4 regrowths.
Can you just tap lands too?
It's actually, as
Uh,
obnoxious as
no,
it might
I don't
seem,
think so.
playing
It's
against
a
Michael
tap target
Jacob is
creature
very
or-
fun.
Or whatever. Sorry.
I've always enjoyed him being around and playing games with him and against him. A lot of people kind of seem to
They were cantrip regrowths.
take it to heart too much when he begins complaining to the degree that he likes to.
I mean, a lot of that is performance, I feel
Oh
like.
yeah, I mean, he clearly loves the game. He goes everywhere. He plays everywhere. I mean, you don't do that unless you absolutely love the game and you're doing it because it's something you love.
Brainstorm.
It's okay.
Yeah. No force of will here. Sorry.
We've got a Thought Seize that is probably going to hit a Brainstorm protected hand.
misdirection, that doesn't even work.
Yeah.
Relic
Brainstorm is a
Progenitus.
really good card against cards like Thoughtseize because there's a key card that you really need. You can just brainstorm a response, and you just hide the card that you think your opponent might
And your
like,
voice, I
need to
guess. I
steal
hadn't
from
thought
you.
about that. Sure.
And there, it's a beautiful display of that.
Oh, you're
Ben
the
Weinberg
18, right?
gets Thoughtseized, decides, I'm going to put this counterbalance on the top of my library. I don't want Mike to be able to take this. So, gets the counterbalance into play, knows it's there, flips it over, puts it face down, turns the one land sideways, and it's Michael Jacobs' turn again. It's a good shortcut, too. Just maintain a positive game pace.
Go.
In response to one of the questions about what mid-range aggro is, I made sure to try to put a link that goes into the specific distinctions of some of the strategic archetypes.
Fortunate might be the term I would have used.
So feel free to check out that link that's on StarCityGames.com and in our chat. A lot of people don't necessarily know that the ways that the specific strategic archetypes actually influence matches. You know, for example, if Michael Jacob didn't have a particular set of good cards to deal with permanence on the board, and if Ben Weinberg's control elements weren't on the board, this would probably turn into a really rough matchup. But just the natures of the way these two decks work, based on elements of the fundamental natures of their decks, make this in general a matchup that I know Brian Cole, when he was building this deck, viewed Counterbalance as generally one of his favored matchups.
Michael Jacob tries to resolve a Confidant there. If Confidant stays in play for a turn or two, it's basically lights out for Ben. In the matchup like this, each card is so important.
Yeah. Right now, as it stands, Michael Jacob is in pretty rough shape.
Yeah, the counterbalance
I've
top
already
have
recorded
been
this.
assembled. Luckily for Michael,
I thought maybe you missed your tax step.
it does not seem too reasonable for Ben to, let's say,
Done.
have a removal spell in his hand at the ready, and he has to find one with the top. So he's going to go searching, and let's see what he can find. Ben can find Swords to Plowshares. He can probably find a Path to Exile, and he may be able to find Vidalcan Shackles.
A Ponder.
All these are
Sorry,
incredible cards.
Sorry to interrupt. A Ponder quickly shuffles away no findings of those solutions to the Tarmogoyf problem. As you said, he does have many solutions.
Yeah, he's got a ton of solutions here. There's so much going on. Even a Jace is a beautiful solution here.
You want this?
Leaving a 2 on top after your draw step and tapping out for a Jace is incredibly strong. Your opponent will perhaps try to go for a Confidant again or something like that, and you can just flip your card, show them the 2, and you get a free card.
And here it comes
And
again.
a free turn of your opponent's.
He has a land. Two mana once again. Him to Torak. There's a spell snare in Ben's hand. He's got Counterbalance top going. So between those two, this Him to Torak is not likely to resolve. Wow. Or he doesn't care. Not gonna reveal from the Counterbalance?
Huh.
It's pretty shocking to me.
Yeah, I mean, countering him is pretty important. I mean,
Does he not? I don't think he knows the top of his library because it was shuffled from a Ponder. And I don't think that he... maybe he topped it directly after it. Did he know it was on top and he just didn't want to show it?
He didn't know it was on top. Yeah, I guess he did, actually.
So there it is, the card that he knew was on top, which could have countered that Him to Torak.
So we didn't have any effects.
Probably not. Go ahead.
you saying extra table topple, so I can't imagine you extra.
Why would I do that?
So things have kind of changed pretty quickly here.
Well, I mean, one thing to notice is that he does happen to have a pernicious deed in his hand. If he's got
that's
a
gonna
land,
be a pretty powerful spell.
if he's got a land, he can use that to pop off the combo once again.
Unfortunately, it's just a 2 for 2. He doesn't really gain any card advantage off this
I mean,
spell.
but getting that top off the table, that in and of itself is really good.
Deed is one of the few cards you even get to resolve in a spot like this. The 3s are just so good. They can find their way through a counterbalance. So,
Ooh, Elspeth.
Mike plays an Elspeth,
Oh,
and
wow.
Ben's deck only has 2 4s in it, so Ben needs to get pretty lucky here with a counterbalance. Elspeth is just a beast right now, too. This card is
Look at Ben's face
certainly
there. He's like, well,
just
that's
a complete
spicy.
and total trump at this point. Ben thinks to himself, all right, maybe I can activate my top. Let me look at my graveyard real quick. I'm going to pick up my div top. I'm going to put back down my div top. You know, just Ben Weinberg thoughts going through a Ben Weinberg head.
You know, Ben is, he's willing to take some time to think things through.
I mean, that's a good thing. I joke, but in all seriousness, taking your time and making good plays, just playing tight and thinking about each match individually is super important to doing well at tournaments. Something I've been trying to do more lately is to think of every single match as an individual game of Magic and not try to think about the implications of that match. Even when I'm playing for the top 8 of an event, I try to treat it the same way as if I'm playing a normal game, just with my friends at my apartment. But I try to make the best play I can every single time and think about the game as a game of Magic and not anything else. It helps. Try it.
Yeah. So, the top of Ben's library has Croson Grip and Force of Will.
I don't really like those ones too much. They work good enough.
I mean, the thing I would do here, make the token, and then the next turn start going to the air.
Oh, yeah.
How nice are you?
To the air.
Oh, no. I was actually just going to ask a joke about that.
What?
I mean, there is the Tarmogoyf 5 or 6. Is Ben just dead?
It's big.
Oh, I did everything respawn.
I do not believe that the Tarmogoyf is a 6. I don't think that there are
Tribal cards. We have
there are no planeswalkers in the yard. There are no tribal cards. in the
no
yard.
planeswalkers. Okay, so
I guess it was assumed.
we're looking at
I
a.
but I guess.
I mean,
I guess we have sorcery, instant, creature, land,
I would like to, he did not say he was triggering this.
enchantment. Do we have an artifact?
I don't believe there's an artifact in any yard.
Okay, so we're at a 5, 6. So Michael Jacob is 1 off here.
So it goes on the stack commander one even before he even gets priority. The next time he would get priority, the active player puts the triggers, that non-active player puts triggers, so it goes on the stack, then he gets priority to do something.
I mean, maybe he does want to just jump in the air to knock out the ability for Ben to use a sack land again.
Oh, it was me.
That's fair.
This one I assumed it was assumed. This one.
Because then at that level, right, he can't really, Ben can't afford to snap back to kill the Elspeth, because then the snap back from Jacob will kill him.
Yeah.
So I can knock you to 1.
Yep.
I'm interested to see how How does that Elspeth only have 4 counters?
I think he's still trying to decide what to do with it.
Oh, okay.
Unit 1 allows you to kill my Elspeth, which means I'm dead to almost anything. So, make a token.
Okay. There's the top again. Activate the top. Michael Jacob
so powerful.
playing the Brian Cowell revision of Pro Tour Junk that I believe was unveiled for the most part at Grand Prix Columbus this last year.
Yes.
And that took Brad Nelson to a second place finish.
It's multiple second places for Brad this last year.
There's a path to exile.
Oh, I don't think Brad came in second. Brad came in second in Toronto. I think Brad lost in the first round of top 8.
Did Brad lose in the first
Yeah,
round?
he got cited.
Okay. Okay.
Not a bad way.
I thought he did a little bit better than that, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mediocre. He should have done better.
And with regards
I was
to
pretty
people
disappointed
taking
in him.
credit for building this deck, I will absolutely take credit for building Pro Tour Junk, as I was given an incredible amount of hell for making the deck by John Finkel and Chris Bakula, amongst others, around 1999. And the deck was essentially designed for the Pro Tour Chicago that Bob Maher would win with Counter Oath, the Counter Oath deck that was designed by Ped Bunn. And
Right, I played a lane.
it's been a deck that I think has performed very well over the years, but has generally been called bad at different points, even though it usually ends up putting up really solid results.
It's interesting because that type of strategy generally plays weaker cards than the more mainstream decks in any given format, but the synergy of aggressive creatures, good removal spells, in fact the best removal spells, and the best disruption is just like a really potent combination. It's like finding this like really nice mix.
And you know, this deck is very similar to, in some ways, to Sol Malka's The Rock. But the big difference between a junk deck and a rock deck, a junk deck is a mid-range aggro deck. It's trying to put on a clock and kill you with it. And a rock deck is happier to stretch a game out. And it's going to do much more controlling aspects of a mid-range control deck.
Actually, I think we can enchantment.
No, it was already there, counterbalance.
Oh, deed.
No, I don't have a counterbalance.
Oh.
Yeah, because that
Six. I go 6, right?
Yeah.
15.
well, because we had Arcane last time.
Right.
Then 15.
So, one of the things about Elspeth here is I think it protects itself in addition to, you know, just doing absurd things and allowing you to be more aggressive. So even if Ben were to play a creature that doesn't have evasion, Mike would still have such a huge advantage because the Elspeth could protect itself while it like suits up the remaining token to bash in the air. Its counters also get so high up so quickly that even if you do manage to hit it, you're not going to kill it, and it's still going to swing back at you and really put you in danger of being lethal.
And here we have a Trinket Mage. It's probably going to just to reassemble the top, but that might not be good enough here. He might actually need to consider something like an Engineered Explosives. And his life total actually is that a correct life total? Is he at 15?
Yes, he is. He gained 6 life off the Path to Exile.
Okay.
Or off the Swords to Plowshares. Sorry.
Okay.
And,
okay, in that case...
yeah, I think Mike here has a deed, so that's pretty good. I mean, Mike can just play if he rips the land.
He tried to do the deed before, but there was a Crowsome Grip on top of the library and a counterbalance, then revealed it and countered it.
Oh, so he no longer has the deed now.
Right, he no longer has that card.
Okay. So he's got Caracas Tarmogoyf.
Okay, a blind counterbalance flip fails to stop Tarmogoyf.
Force a little right now.
That's fair.
Back 14.
Elspeth at 7.
One card.
That's a dangerous thing.
Yes, it's getting up there.
It's actually not
You're at 10, right?
the type of thing you want to be doing against, like, for example, Ben's deck. Ben's deck isn't trying to destroy any of your permanents. Indestructibility is almost irrelevant. His creature removal is Path, Exile, and Swords, both of which ignore Elspeth's ultimate. And his actual board control all comes in the form of permanents. So
Here we have an engineered explosives about to be for 4, it looks like. Red, green, white, blue.
So you had you at 10.
That is a large soldier token that's been put into play.
He took 4 from my token. He brought
it's the biggest soldier token I've ever seen.
I've seen bigger.
But somehow, this soldier token made Michael Jacob lose his game win.
And here comes big Tarmogoyf.
So this is 7 now?
I believe so. I think it's the max it's going to get, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. Artifact, Planeswalker, Enchantment. Everything essentially but the tribal.
Yeah, this thing is big. So it's got everything now except tribal. So
Except for
it's
tribal.
6, 7.
I'm just talking with our tag with the token. So 14.
7, 8.
There's a planeswalker in the yard. Forgot about that. When it was first printed and there was one thing missing.
And now the follow-up here leads with Knight of the Reliquary. The blind flip shows no hit.
But a sword will be just as good as a hit here.
Brainstorm.
Draft open number 2, top 8 players. Please report to the row of tables immediately in front of the scorekeeper station,
Brainstorm finds
where
Jace.
Ricky is pointing. Once again, draft open number 2
Oh, I know
players.
him.
Please report to
7,
the row of tables immediately in front of the scorekeeper station that Ricky is now shaking at.
Let's guess you want to storage your own trinket match.
I'll have to check real quick.
Things look pretty bad for Ben here.
Yeah,
I mean,
things look pretty bad.
He's just completely out of resources.
I think that Michael Jacob has a Tarmogoyf in his hand as well.
Jace is pretty good.
Bounce the Tarmogoyf. Swords the Knight.
18 to 3.
Suddenly, things look like they've turned around.
You know, if he does have an extra Tarmogoyf in hand, I still would have unloaded both of. Oh no, it was just a Caracas. Just.
Results. One card again.
Yeah, things are now suddenly looking on the other foot.
Activate top.
There's the reassembly of the countertop.
How good would another deed be?
There are 10 minutes left in this round, a little bit of change. And I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Star City Games Live, bringing you live coverage of the Kansas City Legacy Open Series.
And I'm Jacob Van Lunen, and right now we're watching round 8
Or not
of the
round
Legacy.
7, round 7.
Oh. Right now we're watching round 7 of the Legacy Open. We're watching Ben Weinberg playing with Counterbalance against Michael Jacob, playing Pro Tour Junk Update by Brian Kowal. Knight of the Reliquary has really proven itself as like one of the greater cards to come out in the recent history of the game.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because when the card was first revealed, it was considered good. You know, it saw a small amount of play for the first few months, but as more time has passed, it's taken on life where it's found its way into like tier 1 decks in virtually every format.
Now, we're approaching the 9-minute mark, and it could actually be problematic for Ben to get a win in time.
With 10 minutes remaining on the clock at this stage of the game, I don't think there's an issue with Ben winning this game particularly, but I think winning a third game is almost impossible for him at this point.
Yeah.
So, right now, Ben is playing for a draw, in my mind. I mean, crazy things happen, though. He does have Tarmogoyfs in his deck, so...
He did just level the Jace. Not level, pardon me. Add 2 to the loyalty of Jace. He's got a Swords for the Tarmogoyf.
25, right?
That's 8 more life then, or sorry, 7 more life for Michael Jacob.
I'm gonna end up taking 3.
And Michael Jacob shuffles away the Mox Diamond that was left on top of his library by Jace the Mind Sculptor. Even at this point, a Pernicious Deed would actually be in some ways pretty frustrating because it would leave Jace and it would leave Sensei's Divining Top around to wreak havoc. But it would also mean, on another score, that the clock that has been built up by Ben would be greatly diminished.
Yeah.
And the idea of the clock right now actually is important. Okay, MJ scoops it up to try to get to a game 3.
He's going to back it in.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I mean, he only has 7 minutes and 46 seconds left, so he better shuffle up quick. He wants to make it to a finished game 3. A draw here is pretty rough for them. They both would have to get there in the very last round and then pray that their tiebreakers make it.
It's probably gotta be one anyways.
Is there ID?
Yeah.
Intentional draw.
I put on that game. If I switch Sword or Tarmogoyf, I think I win.
Oh, we have just seen an intentional
If I
draw.
play DD, Trigger Mage on top, I just Sword your Tarmogoyf.
So they drew?
Yeah, intentional draw.
If I just
That
Sword
makes
your
sense.
Tarmogoyf,
I feel like that's a good play.
Win.
your board was Tarmogoyf counterbalance. I had an Elspeth with 5 counters, and I made it to the end. I played Pernicious Deed and Trigger Mage.
Okay.
If I just sword your guy and not play Pernicious Deed, just sword your Tarmogoyf.
Okay.
Because then I don't play Pernicious Deed and I don't play Fox.
Well, then I have to shuffle too, and then like.
Yeah. Like I think I instantly win there. I didn't deserve it. If I thought about it, I would have done that, but I didn't think about it. So.
I'm not sure.
So were you completely out of
So Mirrodin Besieged comes out in the very near future.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
It should be an exciting set.
I mean, like, you can draw a
I'm really
creature,
excited
but, like,
to see
I
what
can just
comes
chump it
along.
forever and, like,
There's the Artifact aggro deck that did very well at Worlds, and I'm sure that might get a new toy or two that people would have fun playing with.
Like, hit run.